reason why we're doing this, we're trying to breed a bit of positivity and bring out likable men. And you are like, you can just be around you, and even just seeing you today,
you make me
just smile.
Well, that's it. I like to surround myself as you get older as well. So I was always quite tolerant of everyone growing up, because a lot of my friends used to say you're too nice and you're too nice to everyone, and you give too many people a chance. And I said, well, I'd rather be like that than maybe how you are sometimes, because they'd rather,
Take
have a fight or whatever. I don't like that. I used to get bashed up in the ring, so I know what it was like to get beaten up, and so I didn't want to fight outside the ring. I'd do anything I could to get out of a fight, and everyone did want to fight me around my area when I was growing up, because they knew I was a boxer.
Okay, welcome back to the Boardman podcast. Like, subscribe, that usual jazz. We are here today with a very special guest and a very good friend of mine, and all of ours, I suppose, as well. Ricky, what's your last name?
Chaplin, as in Charlie. That's all.
Charlie Chaplin. Ricky Chaplin. Rick, love you, man.
Love you, mate.
You are seriously one of the nicest people I know.
And but I can say the same for you though, and you boys. It's
He looked at me when he said.
I know he did.
No, I did.
Cheers, Rick.
Yeah. It's because your eyes though. It's because your eyes, James. I'll just get lost in your eyes, mate.
No, but seriously, like the moment we met, you've just been so nice, like rock through the film and everything. And Ricky basically is in the film. He plays Henry Pierce, the fighter at the end.
When you say the film, do you want to remind
Prizefighter, which is on Amazon.
There's more than one film that
There's
exists.
more than one film. The main film. Prizefighter, which is on Amazon. Yeah, me and Ricky have a really great fight at the end, which is just amazing. I don't know where to start. Maybe we start on that.
I mean, I would start with like where you grew up and like a bit about your background, Ricky, just to give everyone a bit of substance about you. And like I know you as you are now, but like what got you to be the man you are today?
Of course, yeah. I grew up in Swanley in Kent, so it's just outside South London. But it's more of a green place, you know what I mean, in terms of just outside the city. I grew up, I've got a brother, Wes. He's a few years older than me. My mum and dad. I had a really good upbringing. I was very, very lucky, because not all people, especially around my way, had that. So I was very lucky growing up.
Especially in the 60s.
Yeah, well, Look, this camera would sort it out.
When were you born?
I was 85.
Oh, shit.
84. What was you born?
You're younger than me.
You're young.
Yeah.
Am I the oldest on this table?
No.
Good.
Mate, easy on.
What are you, Jane?
Do I have to say on camera? I'm a little bit older, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You don't look it.
Thanks, mate.
You look lovely.
It's Barbara Strum moisturiser.
I thought he was going to say Barbara Streisand. you got lovely hair like her.
And that's where he gets the shirts from as well.
Yeah, I know. It's nice, mate. You do. You look lovely, mate.
I know the way this podcast goes.
Again, very, very lucky. And then obviously went to school. I was very, if I was honest with you, I was very, what's the word, academically. I was not very academic at all. So I didn't really enjoy school too much, but I wasn't a naughty boy, I wasn't
Dyslexic?
one of these. I was, or I am.
Same.
I didn't find that out till later life, actually. So that put a lot of things in my way. And then when I actually found out when I was dyslexic and I went for a screening, a test, they actually said you'll come up with coping mechanisms. So people with dyslexia will come up with coping mechanisms. So my coping mechanism at school was to be the class clown, and to play up. But I didn't know that at the time.
Well, laugh it off kind of thing.
Yeah, because I didn't want to ask the question again. Everyone else got it, and I was thinking, I'm always the one who's putting my hand up saying I don't get this, So rather than asking, I'll just be a little git, really, But hopefully not in too much of a horrible way. So started boxing quite young. My dad took me down to a boxing gym when I was about 8 years old. And I remember walking in there and introducing me to Kenny Kendrick, my boxing trainer. Gorgeous, lovely man. He's passed away now. But I remember walking in there and watching some sparring, and I saw a boy get popped on the nose, and I cried my eyes out. I cried my eyes out and I walked out the gym.
How old were you then?
I was about 8, I think. About 8 or 9. Yeah, 8 or 9. And I said, that's it, I don't want to box. And my dad was like, all right, no worries, because he weren't a pushy dad. He just wanted, the best for me.
That's exactly what happened to you.
Well, it was you who popped my nose.
And you cried.
I didn't cry. No.
I don't blame you, mate. It's horrible.
It's a horrible feeling.
If you're clever enough, you stay away from boxing, you know. Yeah. But it was, and then I got back into it. It was a couple of years later, about 10 years old, and I got back into it. My brother's friend used to box for England, and he come round. He used to bring round all his trophies and that. And I said to me, Dad, look, I want to go boxing. He went, well, last time you went, he said you cried your eyes out. And I said, no, I definitely want to try it again. And that was it. And the rest is history, really. I used to go down there. I used to get my arse handed to me in the ring. I used to get bashed up, something rotten, because I couldn't box because I just wanted to get in there and try and hit them. And all the time they were moving around and popping me. My trainer, Kenny Kendrick, again, such a lovely man, told me in a really nice way. He said, mate, unless you learn to box, he said, it's going to happen to you week in and week out.
Keep getting hit.
So he said, if you want to learn to box, you've got to start listening.
Did you hear that, Matt? You got to learn it.
His footwork's terrible.
We were in the gym yesterday and we were just body sparring, and the guy came over and said, look, you can't do this without a professional trainer here. And Matt went, no, I'm a professional. And he said, like, look, and the guy searched him on the internet, found out that he does some boxing. It turns out this guy, his wife is like number one in England boxer, and he basically said, right, get in the ring. So he came in with the pads, and we know Matt's fucking great when it comes to sparring. Yeah. On the pads, he was sort of like saying, Matt, your footwork's a bit off, mate. And
he was correcting me straight away, which is good.
And he hated it. He hated it.
But do you know what is the thing with people who pad? Everyone pads differently.
Exactly.
So if you pad with a certain person, you get used to it, and then you go and pad like it's happened to me before. I'll go and pad with someone else, and I look terrible, and I feel terrible. Right. So that's probably.
Mate, this guy was big.
And also, your footwork could have been terrible, but no, I'm going to say more than likely.
He was like really flattered, and I said, and he was like, oh, who's training you? You're in the amateur. You're training like an amateur boxer. And I said, well, Tony Borg trains me, who trains world champions. Yeah. It's great, but Tony's shorter. Yeah. And this guy had a very different
approach. But do you do the pads, or you just get in the ring all the time and spar? Because I never see you do the pads. I never see you do the pads.
It's just like Ricky said, it's so different.
No, I disagree. This guy's really good. Yeah. Like, this guy held the pads good.
But he was a completely different size.
Yeah, but you weren't twisting. He was right with his comments. He was really good.
He was correcting me. Yeah. So whereas like Tony will correct me, but he'll correct me quickly, and it'll be keep going, right, 3, 2. Do you mean like this guy was like, no, do it, and he would take a second or two to start. So I had loads of power and energy because he was just like,
well, that's it. You can
giving me time.
Thing is, you can go forever. He's like a Jewish bunny. He can go forever. And maybe Tony's style was to get you fit for the film scene, and that's probably why it was. Yeah. He wasn't so much looking at technique for you. Exactly. He just wanted to blast you so you got super fit.
I think you're right.
So there's technical pads where you would sit down with a boxer and you'd take the time and you would correct them. And then there's times when if they're your fighter and they've got a fight coming up, you haven't really got time to be doing too much of that because you want to get them fit. Yeah. So that's where the gentleman probably had time to thought, I want to teach you properly, which is good on the man because he wants to teach you properly.
Yeah. But saying that, you've had like short, pad work training. In Malta you've had what's his name?
He's short, yeah.
Yeah, he's short. And
the guy said, have you been fighting with midgets? He literally said that 3 times. Did he really? He said 3 times hobbits.
Did he? Hobbits. There's a difference. Let's say midget or you get trained by a midget or a hobbit.
We won't be cutting that.
Sorry, mate. So I jumped in. So you got hit. You saw someone get hit when you was 8 or 9. You got put off a bit because you went home crying, but then you went back sort of 10, 11, and then got properly into it.
I got hooked straight away, when I went back down.
Was you bullied at school? I know you were a clown a bit. What was you bullied?
Do you know what? I was very lucky at school because I think because I was a little bit of a cheeky chappy, I used to get away with murder, and I had an older brother, so I was lucky that way. Yeah. But not to say that I've never ever been like beat up before because I have, and I think with that it's if anything it's a good life lesson. I'm glad I did. Because there's only so much you can go around thinking you can say what you want and buck about. Do it to the wrong person one day and you're going to get popped on the nose. And that's exactly what happened, But fair play to the fella who did it because it taught me a lesson,
right. That's good.
So I couldn't hide behind my brother for too long. Because once he left school, that was it. I was knackered. I was on my own then.
And we've had a couple of boxes on already, and there's something weird, and it's a really nice connection between boxing and helping you become the person you are and saving yourself. You, as you know, with the film, boxing saved me completely. Yeah. Like, what did it do for you? I know you went into fighting and obviously acting, and you're this super famous stunt guy now later on. But what did the boxing do for you early on? What did it?
I can't tell you. I can't big boxing up enough. I think it's the best sport in the world. I'm going to be biased because it's my sport, but it's self-confidence, discipline. Like I say, about the times where you think you're a bit what's the word? More confident than you should be. In a bad way rather than in a good way, because it's good to be confident, but there's other ways you can be confident. I think sometimes it's
fine
not
line
good
between
to be
confidence and arrogance.
Arrogance, that's it.
Push you down a peg or two just to sort of...
Exactly. And I don't think I was never like that, but it just taught me a little lesson, just to put you back in your box, But I can't tell you what it's done for me. The people I've met, the amount of people I've met through boxing, the opportunities I've had through boxing. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And this is all through boxing. And for Billy Clements, my friend Bill, we grew up together, and I used to box with Bill, and he introduced me to you guys for the film. But it's courage, confidence, discipline, strength. I mean, I was very lucky, so it was quite a daunting thing to, all the way through it. I was pretty cool with the film. It didn't really bother me in terms of I wasn't nervous. I was just happy to be there. And then the first day of the filming, we done in Stratford-upon-Avon. It was you against
Andrew Gamble,
Mark Epstein.
And
I think it suddenly it dawned on me what I was doing, and I thought, I went, oh shit, this is real now. But I just thought about the times I walked into the ring and the time I was in the changing room and the thoughts that were going through my head, because the amount of times I was in the changing room and I thought, if someone said, Ricky, your fight's off, I could have kissed them. Do you know? And that's the honest truth, because I love to fight, I love to box, but you get so nervous, and you do. And if someone come into you and said, Rick, sorry, mate, your opponent's pulled out.
That's really interesting. So the first acting experience, you were nervous when you were there on the day, but you went back in your mindset to boxing
straight away
to help you deal with the nerves and the composure and
straight away,
wow.
Man. I was on my toes. I remember we had that scene where I was running alongside Martin Coates on the horse, and I remember we had to do quite a few takes. And I remember the first take, it was like, so I was up on my toes, literally like I was on a ring walk, and I generally felt like I was on a ring walk. I just went back to my boxing days. I was doing a little bit of shadow boxing, up on my toes, but it helped me. It did. I just switched straight on, and I thought, you know what, I've boxed before. I've been in the ring, and
where something's actually at stake. With acting, unless you take it super seriously, there's something at stake, but mainly there's not that much at stake. Going into the ring, you're putting things at stake.
Well, exactly. I'm very lucky there, because obviously I wanted to do well for you guys, and I didn't want to let anyone down, because I actually said to Martin, I said, please, if you ever see me do something, because I said, I don't want to make you look bad, So I said, please.
So nice.
I know.
I said, please, you won't offend me. Just say, Rick, come on, mate, sort yourself out.
I remember that first day we did, and we had a conversation, a dialogue, and you said to me, Matt, what? And I said, Rick, just.
And he was so good. He just calmed me down, because what Matt said, he said, we're doing so many shots around it. We're moving round, and we'll probably do this 20 times, and that just made me go chill, because I thought in a fight, it's one fight, it's 3 rounds, 4 rounds, or whatever, and you're out of there and it's done. Whereas this, it was like 20 times. Oh, okay, I can get it.
Mess up a little bit.
But by round 20, I should be able to get it right. You know what I mean?
So going back, before the film, because that's now. So where did it go with the boxing from you from that young age?
Right. So there was a thing called the Schoolboys years ago. So my first fight ever, I got picked to fight for Kent, because I'd done a thing called a gym show, and it's where you go to different boxing clubs if you haven't had a fight before or about.
Like an inter-club.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think at the time I wasn't old enough, maybe. I think that's why it was. And then as soon as I was old enough, there was people at the gym show who were in the Kent Association, and it was Kent versus Surrey. So I got a call up to fight for Kent. So it was really cool. I remember I fought an Irish traveller from St Pancras Boxing Club, and I remember all his family being there, and so it was quite daunting, you know what I mean? And it was in Margate. And we walked down, it was a beautiful, like an old ballroom. And it was the times where you could smoke inside then. And you walked down and it was just all misty and steamy. They called it like it was a dinner show. So you had all the posh gentlemen there eating their 3-course meals while they watched your box, And I remember going to the weigh-in, and I remember seeing some massive kid. He was like Tyson. He was built like Tyson, and I just remember thinking, please, 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 don't let me be boxing him. And luckily, it wasn't him. You know, it wasn't him.
That's mad as well with the smoke, because now you just think, God, imagine going in somewhere that's like that must have affected the fighters so much.
Well, the thing is, you didn't think nothing of it, but when you was in the ring, it was smoky. It was so misty and smoky.
Yeah.
But again, looking back, it was, I suppose, it all give a bit of ambience to it. You know? But yeah, I was lucky. So I had that first fight. I won. I remember talking to his family after, you know, and they're really, really nice. And, you know, I remember speaking to, because I was on the phone, because it was payphones and I didn't have a mobile. So I had to ring my mum up, just say, Mum, I won. And, you know, they were really made up. And I was on the phone next door to the kid's brother, and he was talking to his mum. And I remember them going, can you talk to my mum? I was like, yeah, of course I can. And I remember...
So you spoke to his mum?
I was talking to his mum. She's like, I heard you done well there, boy, you know? So it's really lovely. It's really nice. And again, that's what I mean about the boxing community. I've just beat this lad in a boxing fight, and I'm getting congratulated by his mum on the phone. You know, it's beautiful. I think it's
the beautiful experience with, and, you know, going back to people that we've met, I'm sitting here now, like some of the nicest people I've met are boxers or been involved in some boxing, you know, including yourself, Billy, even Mark, you know, all these people that we've met along the way.
And a lot of people say that. Obviously, I wasn't lucky enough to meet your dad, but that was a lot of things people used to say about your dad.
Right.
About because I know Rob Warren, so Frank Warren's brother. I'm very good friends with Rob. Lovely gentleman. He's, again, people I've met through boxing, and he invites me to shows. So I go to all boxing shows and weigh-ins. And
we should get Frank Warren.
Well, yeah, I can talk to Rob. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. But I remember when I talked to Rob about your dad, and he was so complimentary about your dad. So, yeah.
Because Frank used to promote him, right?
He used to promote him years ago, yeah. And he was such a good fighter, your dad. And I watched a documentary about your dad years ago, and that's what's mad about how life works out. You know, you're sitting there watching a film or a documentary, and you don't realise you could be with these people or, you know, with their family years to come, and how the way life pans out. Yeah. And I loved his documentary because he used to talk about, he was so nice on camera, and he was all his family and his brothers. I mean, how many brothers did your dad have?
Six, I think.
6, 7, yeah.
And they're all boxers.
All boxers, very good boxers.
Didn't they call him like the most well-known, the most unfamous famous boxer?
He was in the Rings magazine top 10 boxers who should have been a world champion, but wasn't, because he got stitched up. I think he should have fought Buster Douglas, who beat Mike Tyson. But with the British border control.
Then they cancelled, like, he was in America.
Yeah, he was there. He was there.
Yeah, but you know it's crazy when you watch the interviews with his dad when he's talking to his opponent. They're just sort of standing next to each other, how we are now, we're having a laugh.
Exactly.
You know, now it's
you
like
sent me that video.
Yeah, because he was a gentleman.
Yeah, proper gentleman.
He was a gentleman.
Yeah.
And I don't even think if he was alive and boxing today, and I think boxers feel like they've got to be like that at the moment to sell tickets. Not all boxers, but I think a lot of them maybe. And it does sell because people.
It does,
but not for me.
Yeah,
not for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather two gentlemen like your dad, and they're sitting there having a shake hands and go, look, let's have a good fight.
And that's how you would be, and that's how Matt would be. And you know, it's like watching politicians. You know, like I was listening to a recording the other day of I can't remember which politician. Who was the one who was a famous actor, and then he became president of the America.
Arnie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, that was California governor. Reagan.
Yeah. Oh,
it was a
right.
sound recording of Reagan, right? And obviously his wages was paid by US taxpayers. And the sound recording was something like, no, give it back. And they were like, why? They'd spent a little bit too much money on a sofa. I think it was like $300. And he said, give it back. I don't want to use taxpayers' money on my sofa. Yeah. And he would talk to his opponents. And there's a really good recording of him talking to another, presidential candidate. And he said to him, the other guy said, look, don't you think you're a bit too old, Ronald Reagan? And he went, no. He said, I'm not going to hold it against my opponent, his youth and his inexperience. He was so eloquent and classy.
Yeah, I like that.
And now they're just horrible to each other. Fighters, they're all like saying, all right, Tyson, I love him. I'll sort of you'll forgive him. But a lot of them, they'd say, I'm going to eat your kids. Or they'll be say stuff about their religion, like Conor McGregor was saying, about Khabib. And, they get really... But in today's world of, fast-paced internet, that does sell better because negativity, I actually tweeted this yesterday, I was just thinking, negativity gets way more likes than anything that's positive.
Listen, that's the truth, you know. And I think a lot of that is whereas in back in the day, I'm not saying it never happened, but because you didn't have social media and people with their phones out all day long, they weren't capturing all these things. So, you know, it's not to say that it didn't happen, but I just think to myself, personally, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like, it's all right to dislike someone, but to start going after their religion or their kids or their family, I mean, I think that's not very classy, man.
And your dad was a good example. So it's crazy that he knew, you know, so you've seen all this about his dad.
Yeah. I watched it years ago and then I watched it again. When I knew I was in the film and I knew about your dad and we talked about your dad, I went back on YouTube and watched it again. That's how much I liked it. I watched it twice.
Oh, mate.
And you do look like him, mate.
I do, yeah.
Spitting image.
Spitting image, yeah.
Who did you idolise at the time?
When I was growing up?
Yeah.
Do you know what? When I was Tuesday, I used to train Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays and then I'd go for run Sunday. I had a VHS TV in my bedroom and I always used to put on, without doubt, I always used to watch Rocky.
I knew you was say Rocky. Up the stairs.
Honestly, Rocky, or I used to have a video about the Fabulous Four. So it was Ken Norton, Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
And I used to watch them, the same films over and over again. And I used to nick little bits, you know, and I did. I remember the rope of dope when Ali was on the ropes, and I used that in sparring. It's amazing the amount of times you watch something, you know. It was obviously nowhere near as good as him, but yeah, they were the kind of people. And then Antonio Barrera, I used to love people like George Foreman, Evander Holyfield. People like
so a lot of the cruiserweight and heavyweight.
Yeah, I did like the bigger fighters.
You're a brilliant example of like what we've been talking about, right? You don't have to be an arsehole to be a strong guy, do you know what I mean? Or like person, you know, you can, like as we just saw earlier on with like, you know, Rebecca, strongest woman in the world, she's lovely. And now you are, like just, as Matt says, you know, I don't know if it does come across on camera, but now when everyone meets you, like you were telling me, because I said, "Oh, he's so nice, Ricky, he's so nice." And then you said, "Yeah, anyone that meets him, any girls that meet him, any guys, they're all like he's." And you know, you're as tough as nails, but you're nice as anything as well. So you don't have to be this kind of arrogant arsehole that a lot of people think you have to be.
Mate, everyone.
Thank you, James. Cheers, mate.
Everyone loves you. It's crazy. Honestly, if you were single, you'd have men, women, dogs, anything else.
I'll say, I don't know. Ask my missus if I'm lovely all the time. She might tell you something different.
She does. Yeah. I remember being like on set with filming, and someone. I remember one of the makeup girls come in, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm nice, trying to be nice. And then this one girl comes in, and she's just like, she did a face like this. She went. And I was like, "You okay? What's wrong?" "I've just met Ricky." It's like, "Oh yeah, he's nice, isn't he?" "Oh my God, I love him. I'd marry him straight away. He's amazing." "All right, yeah, come on then. Back to me."
Oh, that's
no,
it.
but it's just it's such a, you know, and we're trying to. This is what, you know, reason why we're doing this. We're trying to breed a bit of positivity and, like, you know, bring out likable men. And you are, like, you can just be around you. And even just seeing you today,
you make me
just smile.
Well, that's it. I like to surround myself as you get older as well. So I was always quite tolerant of everyone growing up, because a lot of my friends used to say you're too nice, and you're too nice to everyone, and you give too many people a chance. And I said, well, I'd rather be like that than maybe how you are sometimes, because they'd rather, you know, have a fight or whatever. I don't like that. I used to get bashed up in the ring, so I know what it was like to get beaten up, and so I didn't want to fight outside the ring. I'd do anything I could to get out of a fight, and everyone did want to fight me around my area when I was growing up, because they knew I was a boxer. Yeah, and I was lucky to have friends around me who were quite, you know, I'll say tough and streetwise, that they'd get me out of it, because, you know, one time I was offered out a few times by the same kid, and I had enough, and my mate said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, and my excuse was, I got a boxing license. That's what my trainer said. You got a boxing license. If you ever fight in the street, they'll take your boxing license away. So he said, tell him to come down the gym for a spar. So I said, all right, lovely. So he's done it to me this one day, come up, and I said, look, I can't fight you here, but I said, if you come down to my boxing gym, I can spar you. And he said, all right. So he went away with his mates, and I didn't think they'd ever do it, but he did. On the Thursday, I think this was like the Wednesday, he come down on the next day, the Thursday. I was like, oh no. Do you know what I mean? Because he was bigger than me, and he had a moustache and everything, do you know what I mean? He was like, you know.
I bet you battered him though.
Well, do you know what happened? So I've gone into the, and sparring in my gym, so you take it easy, and you got, you know, it's just going through the motions, you know. And my trainer used to tell me off, or anyone off, if they went too hard, they'd tell you off. And anyway, so my trainer said, he's clocked what's gone on. So they've come in and they said, you know, we're at the spa, Ricky, this, that and the other. And anyway, we're both in the ring and he's come over to me. He's gone over to the lad, make sure he's had his gum shield in, all that. Done it. Come over to me, make sure I had the gum shield, wipe my gloves, and he just whispered in my ear and he just went, let him have it. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah. I was like, all right. And I did. And I went in and the first, I thought, body shot, you know, because so straight away, bosh, body shot, right uppercut, right into here. Dropped like a sack.
No way.
Honestly, mate. Honestly, it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Brilliant.
I remember he had like this moustache, he had all this snot and all that, and he was wincing. And we had a viewing gallery, and his mates come, and they were laughing. They were laughing at him, and I was just like, get in there.
But what's so great about
Fantastic,
that is it's like what James said. Like you know, you're tough and you're going to handle yourself. You're not a small boy, and I've been in the ring with you. I know you can handle yourself. And then you just got this like unbelievably nice side as well. You know, and it's. I think more of that is needed, you know?
There is, right? But while we're saying this, like, yeah, definitely. But you also need to caveat that, right? Because if someone, as I've got, I don't know if you're going to say this, but as I've got a bit older, you do find people can take the piss or my mum would say, mistake your kindness for niceness.
For weakness or whatever. Kindness for weakness. Or, yeah.
And that happened a lot. And I was younger and but as I've got older, if someone takes it too far, I will be like, I don't want you in my life, or you're taking the piss, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But so I think you've got to caveat the niceness and the loveliness with there is a point.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
100%, mate. I agree with you.
Yeah, but in general, it's that we're generally trying to be nice and positive.
How easy is it to be nice?
Yeah.
How easy for me? It's so much easier to be nice and horrible. I'd rather give, a poor homeless person or something, I'll buy them a sandwich or something like that. You know, if they ask you, if you ain't got the money, because that's a lot of the time now, because you haven't got cash on you, have you? So they ask for money, I ain't got cash, mate. Want a sandwich, right? Have a sandwich. Yeah. And, or someone being horrible to you, if you're nice back to them,
kill them with kindness.
It's quite nice sometimes to see their reaction, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of time, they actually go, you can see their face drop a little bit and sort of go, actually, I probably am being a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, do you know what? If you get someone being horrible online or anywhere where you can't see them, it's very easy for a keyboard warrior to say something horrible, right? And most people would not read comments or whatever. There's been a few occasions where someone's got really personal with something, and I've actually gone back and I've said, look, what's the issue? Yeah. Let's just discuss it, and I'll go in and I'll be really nice. And like you say, 9 times out of 10, you can resolve that. And what it is because they're being a bit aggressive, normally you want to meet them with aggression, and then it's going to go wrong.
Exactly.
But you're right, you can fix nearly every...
And where do you think that came from, Rick, if being honest? Like, where's that instilled in you? Is that childhood? Is that having a good family? Is that, where have you got that from?
Family, mate. Family. My mum, my dad. My dad was in the army. He was in the army for quite a few years, served in Northern Ireland. I think he was Burma, Singapore. He went here, there and everywhere to come out, become a labourer and a roofer. But my dad was just very, he just loved us. He didn't have a lot of mates, my dad. He didn't go to the pub. He wasn't like these, but he just was a family man. And as long as we was all right and we could eat and we had clothes on our back, he was happy. My mum, bless her, exactly the same. She went out and grafted where she could to get a bit of money for us. But I was always told, treat people the way you wanted to be treated. And they used to say that to me, politeness, be polite, never be rude, And it's honestly as simple as that, I think. And it doesn't and that's where boxing comes in as well. The amount of boxers, our trained boxers now, young kids, and when they come in, I go to them, how you doing, all right? And they go, yeah. And I go, oh, was that it then? And they go, what? And I go, well, what about me? And I go, what do you mean, what about me? I go, well, you haven't asked how I am. I've asked how you are. And they go, oh, sorry, how are you? I go, I'm all right, mate, thanks. I said, just always do that, because you're setting them up for the world later on, outside boxing. Because that's what boxing done for me as well. I was lucky to have a good mum and dad, but I was lucky to have good boxing trainers to teach me little lessons here and there. And when you meet people outside, it's so important. And I just like to say, and what you're doing here, it's nice talking about it with you guys and like-minded people, because I know you, and that's quite nice about this. I know a lot of podcasts, you don't really know the people you're talking to, but I know you boys, I'd like to think quite well now. And I love you, and you're the kind of people I want around me.
What was it like boxing for the Fire Brigade? Because I bet it's because you're with these people all day, every day. So it must be really pushing you to want to go.
Oh, it was fantastic. So I was very lucky because I was at Woolwich Fire Station at the time, and they had the Woolwich Barracks there, so all the soldiers were up there. And we was doing a little visit one day, and I saw all their boxing stuff up there. So I had a little chat with one of the gentlemen. I said, oh, so do you do a lot of boxing up here? He said, yeah. He said, here you go, bring this bloke, because I told him about a fight I'd coming up. He said, bring this bloke, and he said you might be able to come and train up here. So I rang this fellow up. His name's Tony Richardson. He was a sergeant. Again, another good friend of mine to this day. And he was like, who's this? And I was like, oh, hello there, my name's Cheeky Chaplin. And he was like, didn't have time. He was like, yeah, whatever, mate. And I thought, I put the phone down. I thought, oh, I don't know if I like him. Do you know what I mean? But I thought I'd go see him. Well, again, he's one of the most nicest blokes I've ever met, you know, the way time turns out. And he used to let me train in their gym whenever I wanted. He used to open the gym up, get one of the sergeants to open the keys up. I used to spar with all their army fighters. I got invited to all their mess dues, like we did. We went to the boxing night the other night. The army.
That was amazing.
And that's again through boxing. I mean, where would I have got that sort of opportunity through boxing to be in an officer's mess, to be front row? And
that experience was unreal. Like going into the officers' mess, we were the only people there who were in normal clothes, civilian clothing.
Yeah.
And like to see the energy that they put into it, like two sides were in like their normal army outfit, they're all screaming, then you got the other two sides in all their
raincoats.
Raincoats. And you know, to feel that energy in that, and I don't know how we're lucky enough to even get access to that.
And for everyone watching, basically we got invited to a big, how do you call it, like an army boxing event?
It was an inter-company boxing tournament, so it's
the British Army.
It's to decide who's going to be in their boxing team to go and fight other regiments, so the parachute regiment. So they've got to fight for their place to be on this squad.
Yeah,
so that's
It was such a great experience, wasn't it?
It was an amazing experience.
So everyone laughing and dancing and jumping around, and like it was just all these
and
army cadets.
Where they've been, all the medals of all the countries that they've served in.
Very brave men, you know, and very good men, you know, and they were lovely. They were so happy to see you guys. Because they don't really have people like you guys turning up, you know, celebrities really. It is because normally
he's halfway there.
Yeah. So it was nice both ways. So you guys were obviously happy to be. I was happy you come with me.
Yeah,
you know, I really
was really great.
We had a good night, didn't we?
Really good night. They were really nice guys, smart and you know, just
very polite and looked after us.
Yeah. To think they're killing machines, you know, real life killing machines. They've they've killed people. Well,
same with the boxing, like people that you meet are some of the nicest people in the world.
It's controlling that aggression, I think, isn't it?
This episode of the Boardman podcast is sponsored by MovieCoin.com, the place to go to get your movie funded by crypto and NFTs. Or if you'd like to actually invest in a film or a movie using crypto or fiat currency, please go to www.moviecoin.com and you'll receive profit shares of the movies you invest in.
So Bill Clements is a friend of mine. He's a very good stuntman, very successful stuntman. And when he thanks very much, mate. And when he found out about the boxing film with Matt, Prizefighter, he rang me up and he said, Rick, could you just come up and give us a hand? And just have a look and see if there's anything you'd do differently. And it all started from there, really, didn't it, mate? You know, I went up there. We done. I think we started to choreograph a few of the fights together through your script, and then I finally met you. It was sort of quite a while before I met you, actually. I think there was a lot of talk about Matt, and I've never met him, but you know, I'm looking forward to meeting him. You know, he's quirky, isn't he?
I would say quirky.
He's quirky. He's a trendsetter. He's a trendsetter, aren't you, mate? You are.
I do try to be.
You are a trendsetter. But yeah, the rest is history, and I'm so lucky. I feel so lucky, you know, to have got the opportunity to have done what I've done.
Well, there's a bit of backstory there. So, like, you know, Ricky was helping construct the fights, and as you know, in the stunt world, you construct and rehearse and choreograph fight scene or action scenes way before, sometimes months and months before. So, you know, Billy came through Steve Dent. Billy's a lovely, you know, such a great person as well.
He's
Again,
the man,
so big, but
he's
soft. Such a nice guy.
He is.
And, you know, really impressed with the fight sequences, and then came up, met Ricky, you know, and Ricky was, I think you were kind of playing me in a way with the fight sequences, or you were playing each other.
I think they wanted, they had it in a way where I was like, not your double, but that sort of thing in terms of, so we made sure you could learn the fights well, and if you was
Same
unsure,
size and that kind of stuff,
I could step in and go do, you know. So I had to learn them parrot fashion, and it was quite daunting at one point, because I thought to myself, Christ, I just don't want to muck it up for these guys because they give me this opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That
And
fight
again-
at the end was like the best scene. Like,
Yeah.
apart from
Thank
the
you.
cockfighting scene, that was the best.
Yeah.
It really was the best scene. It was unbelievable.
Thank
mate.
And
Your scene.
from there, I don't know if everyone even knows this, but basically we had another actor that was playing the one of the other fighters, and it didn't work out schedule wise. I think we had a bit of a sparring session just to warm up beforehand.
You didn't like
And
getting
that
hit.
yeah, it just didn't work. And when
I know what you mean when you say it didn't work. He didn't come back, did he?
well, yeah. And we just wanted to make it real, right? We're making a film
Yeah.
with the birth of boxing. We
Yeah.
wanted to make it real. And I remember I was so worried that night because I thought, right, actors pulled out. It's the biggest fight of the film. We've got to do all these rehearsals. Who can we find? The guy that we had was quite famous as well. And I don't know if it was Steve or someone, or it was between me and Steve or me and Billy. We just said, what about Ricky? And it was just like, it went from being like such a worried, anxious, negative state. Like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to find? Biggest fight in the film. Lots of choreography, months of work gone into this, and just gone. Got to start over, and we're starting filming in a couple of weeks or whatever. And I can't go and rehearse with someone else. So, just like soon as Ricky was mentioned, it just went completely from like anxiety to worry to like, oh my god, yes, the perfect fit, perfect option. And we just, we got on so well. Like, it was just so nice. Like, even just the acting side, the working together, it was so funny. I remember him coming in one day, and he'll tell this story better than me, but he came in one day, and because he's so nice, everyone's like, do you want anything? He's like, no, I don't want anything. Do you want anything? I'll get something for you. And helping everyone lifting lifting the mats, lifting this. And I was like, Rick, mate, you're an actor, man. You've got a trailer, although it was little, but he loved it. I was like,
Oh, I was well happy in that, mate.
and tell him, let you tell it, because you tell the story. He knows what story I'm thinking about. And this happened, and he basically turned it and was like, I'm an actor.
He comes on like diva.
Well, it was exactly that, because I thought to myself, like, you see these stories about actors asking for, only red Skittles and in a bowl. So they said, is there anything you want? And I said, yeah, there is actually. And they said, what can I get you? And I said, can you get me a pomegranate? And they went, pomegranate? And they went, why do you want a pomegranate for? I went, well, they're hard to get hold of, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Just testing us.
Yeah, so to see their faces. But I said, no, you're all right, mate. I don't need nothing.
It's hard to get hold of, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but the amount of times, like I say, the young girl would come round and sort of say, do you want a coffee and all like that?
Yeah.
I go, no, I don't want to. I'll get a coffee if I want a coffee. And in the end, I was like, listen, how about you chill out? You can come sit in the trailer. I'll go get my own coffee. I'll come get you a coffee if you want. You can go hide.
That's lovely.
You can hide for 5 minutes,
And that's so nice. I'm inclined to be that way, because you could imagine how they're normally treated on a film set. Like, I remember when we did The Duke, and there was like all these people out in the, and there was like, there were 4 makeup ladies, and they're all on you doing all this stuff, and you can see how it could go to somebody's head really easily.
Cool, yeah.
And they're all so like apologetic and this and that. And you're like, no, like, we're all on an even keel here.
Exactly.
I'm normal, yeah. Just treat me
Exactly.
normal.
Or not even that, but obviously but imagine if I can see it going to people's heads if they're doing that all day, every day.
Unless you're working with someone like Ricky.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was the nice guy before Ricky turned up. It was like, there's a new nice guy in town.
Well, the nicest thing about it, Jay, was that everyone on that film was lovely. And I mean it. I mean, you had Martin, Ray, yourself. I didn't hear one bad thing, I didn't know. I was meant to have a meeting one day, but I think I had a food shop on that day, so I had to do that instead.
Too busy.
Yeah, I was too busy, mate. But everyone.
It's weird as well because
so
there's so many problems in the background, but filming is a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so blessed to it's so lucky and blessed to be getting into a film. You get 30 days of filming every couple of years. It's crazy to think that's it. You'd be lucky to do 10, 20 days.
I don't know how you did it, mate. Honestly, I don't know about you boys, because obviously you know a lot more than me what went on behind the scenes and everything else. But to write the film, be the main actor in the film, produce the film, do all the logistics, everything. Honestly, and on top of all the other problems, I don't know how you did it, mate.
Yeah,
and I used to say that to everybody else. Honestly, I said, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
He's got a drive that I've never seen anyone.
Yeah, because you can say, like, if someone's not heard before, right, oh, it's hard to make a film. If I heard that before I'd known how films are made, I'd sort of say, oh, no, how can it be that hard? All that money, all those people, you know, just edit it,
Yeah.
you know, get the actors to read off the script.
Yeah.
But seeing what you went through, even seeing actually what you went through with the Duke, like it was horrible, actually, some of the stuff you went through, like proper, pure stress,
Honestly.
you know, and some of the way the people, and that's what puts me off of wanting to do it, because of a lot of the people that you're working with are not the type of people that we've been discussing.
Yes.
But with this one, you just brought really good, everyone gravitated towards you, like good people, like you say, everybody was lovely, all the trainers, everyone. But yeah, to put that together, no one will know how much hard work it was.
And the great thing about him, I you know, you made me like emotional and cry so many times, because he would be messaging me during the film, before a little bit, and very often after, where I'd be like in a really shit place, and I'd get a message, and it'd be, hey mate, how are you? I'm thinking about you. Sometimes he'd say I'm in the bath.
I lied, I ain't even got a bath. But I was just, you know what I mean?
I called him once. I said, "You in the bath, Rick?" He went, "Yeah. I got a little duck here as well." A little rubber duck. But he would just do this weird thing where he'd message me, and it wouldn't be like every day. It'd be once a week or once a month or whatever, or a couple of times, whatever. He'd message me at the point that I was down and I needed to be picked up.
Yeah.
And it was just, how are you? Tell me if you need anything. Hope you're all good. Blah blah blah. And it was. I can't thank you enough, because it really, those little things are what set you aside from, you know, being a really nice person to an amazing person, and you lifted me up so much. And I remember, we haven't spoken about this since the. There's two things I want to speak about. We haven't spoken about this since it actually happened, and no one knows this story really. Remember the day that we went for food with everyone in the restaurant.
Yeah.
So we went for food in Lithuania, and it was a little bit boozy at the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
Not massively.
Well, I've got to be honest, I wasn't drinking because I was quite
Right.
worried
Okay.
of making sure I looked, obviously, of training all right for the fight and stuff like that. So I was trying to be
Was it in Indian that we went for?
It was.
Yeah, we went
It
for an
was.
Indian
Yeah,
Lithuania.
yeah.
It was really nice. And then all of a sudden, everyone was men. We had Lucy there and Habda there, but I think they left. So it was just all men. And it was us, it was Ray Winston, Steve Dent. Everyone was there. Martin, everyone was there. And it just turned into this, like, I don't know why, but people started doing speeches. And these are men that didn't really know each other that well.
No.
But they'd all come together and they'd all done these little speeches. Even Steve Dent, who's like, you know, doesn't stand up and do speeches at all. And he stood up and said, you know, we're all here for a really important reason. And, you know, thanks to Matt and blah, blah, blah. And like everyone just got so connected and it went really emotional, didn't it?
Yeah.
And this guy,
I got silly upset.
he stood up and he was, I don't even, you have to say what you said, but he just said like, I'm so happy to be here. And he started crying in front of everyone.
Yeah.
It was the nicest thing in the world. And I was like, and he was just so open with it. And I was turning away like this, like, you know, I don't want him to see me. And he was just there going, I don't know what to say. I'm just so happy to be here.
Well, I was all right because I was sitting there, I was thinking, well, I'm not going to do a speech. All these, you know, these boys are going to do a speech. They ain't going to ask me to do one. So I was quite happy to just listen to everyone else. And then obviously I had to do one. And it was just, it got me because obviously I started talking about my dad, because my dad's passed away. My dad passed away 2016. And he was my best mate, me and my brother's best mate. Oh. And I never really before that, I never really talked to people about my dad in terms of, because it just make me upset. Every time he talk to my dad, I'd end up crying. So I thought, just don't talk about him or don't, you know. So unfortunately, because I'd done a speech, I obviously wanted to thank people. So thank everybody at the table, especially like Steve Dent, who got me into it, and Billy. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be doing this. And then Matt gave me the opportunity to then play the main role in the fight. And I just couldn't believe it. And I was so thankful. And I felt truly just, because I'm quite religious. Not a lot of people know that, but I'm not a God botherer. There's a thing called a God brother. You know, I'm not on the street handing out leaflets and, you know, saying go to church every Sunday. But I am religious and I do believe in God. And also I think I got a bit emotional. I thought, you know, I've been given this opportunity for a reason. And then my dad come up and I thought about my dad. And I thought if my dad was here and how proud he'd be. Do you know what I mean? Because he just would be, because he just wanted the best for me and my brother. And the reason that I am the way I am and my brother is because my mum and dad. Yeah. And it just felt, and I think I was a little bit gutted because I think my dad's not, you know, I hope he's looking down on me, but I thought to myself, he's not here to see it, you know what I mean? I just felt, you know, all these good things. But, you know, I know he is. Yeah. But it was just nice because I felt lucky and I thought all the people around there, and honestly, and I just felt so lucky to be there with you all. And I thought, who would have thought this last year? Because it was the pandemic. I think it was probably the last year you were stuck in your bloody place.
Yeah.
And and I was sort of going at that time. I was going round with a squad. We was basically, I don't know if I'd ever told you this, but we was when the pandemic first hit and they didn't know how bad it was going to be. They were worried about how many people were going to get basically died at home and get left at home. So they done a thing in the fire brigade to volunteer. You could either drive an ambulance or go round with the police. It was called PMART. So you'd go around and basically go and wrap sort of dead bodies up and ready for the undertaker. So I applied for both of them, and unfortunately I got picked for the PMART thing. I was like, how's your luck? So I was going round and doing that a year before. Right. You know, to think that a year before we was
were you picking up a lot of dead bodies?
If I'm honest with you, we was really lucky. I think they were talking about they said we're going to be picking up as a team, because there was 3 teams per shift. There was 3 shifts per day, and I think they said we're going to pick up between 6 and 9 people up a day. I think rapidly. We was really. I think when
it just died from COVID.
Well. So
I shouldn't say that, blank that out. Just died from
yeah. But so they say, you know. But basically, if they couldn't rule COVID out, they had to be basically contained in a certain way. Right. The police, we had to do it. The police, because they had to make sure it wasn't a crime scene, so they had to make sure there was no foul play. So we had to turn up. We worked out of a police station in Catford, and we'd stay there. Get a phone call to say, right, you got a call, a bit like a shout with the fire brigade. Yeah. So we'd drive to the address. You had all your kit on the back, so you'd dress up in sort of like all your white get up and hazmat suits. You'd walk into the property. The police would do their bit to make sure there was no foul play, take videos. And
how many people were you?
I think in total I was there for about. I think I was about there for either 6 weeks or 2 months. I don't think it was that long in the end, because obviously the way it went on, and they obviously, fingers crossed, it didn't get that bad. But I think we was going to say 2 a day. Can
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is unrelated. Were they really, really old or really, really obese? Yeah.
Well, the first lad we had, bless him, poor sod, I think he was only in his late 20s. But because I'm not a doctor, but I think they'd done a post-mortem on him. And I think they actually found out he actually had a heart attack, not COVID.
Yeah, I find it, I don't know, say it's online, but I find it very hard to believe young, healthy people have died. Like, I've had it, we've all had it, we all thought it before, it's all been an overreaction. Like, with the lockdowns, like, I didn't stay locked down, I was just travelling the whole time to get away from a lockdown.
Yeah, good.
But it's interesting to hear, that's a real insight, what you did there, and someone I love and trust. It's good to hear a real insight of someone who had their feet on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, we like I say, it wasn't nowhere as near as bad as what they said it was going to be. Thank God, you know, because when I first went we had to go for a briefing at the start, and it was we was in a big room at Union Street, and they were showing you how to wrap the bodies and what you're going to do. And I remember sitting there, and it was a bit like the first day of the film, thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Do you know what I mean? You know, I said, what have I signed myself up for? But luckily I worked with the police. They were absolutely lovely, and other firefighters, and we had a nice little team, and we kept each other happy and going. You know, so in the end it wasn't.
And that was a year before the film.
A year before the film. Right, okay. And amazing. Yeah. The jump from that, doing that to that was.
Where at the end fight, you know, he's just knocked me down, hit me full on. His reaction is so natural because he's like worried and. You know, like
genuinely worried.
Genuinely worried. Yeah. And he sits down, and we have this hug. We have this like, what the hell is done? And I remember saying this to you, and I said to I think you said it and I said it, and we just came together. We hugged, and we just said, I said, Rick, we did this for our dads, like, you know, just off camera, because the cameras are wide, and we just said this together, and that was just it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that meant so much to me. Yeah, to say that. And I think we were just bawling in tears.
It did, and it felt real. Do you know what I mean? Because I think we was tired, we was knackered, relief, happy, sad because of that.
And all the time you guys put in the choreography and the training.
Yeah. And it was just, it was really emotional.
But
really,
just that moment of being like on our knees, his ribs are broke or hurting him, I'm battered. Like it's fake blood, we got blood all over our face. We're like leaning into each other. We got these horsehair gloves, which were pretty uncomfortable and hard. Yeah. We just leant in, like, and it was just like such a special moment. Yeah. I remember looking at him, grabbing him, and forget the film, forget the cameras. That moment was like as real as you can get. and it was fucking perfect.
Never forget it,
and
mate.
Never forget that.
No,
It's
never
priceless.
forget it, mate.
Absolute priceless.
Honestly.
But it translates to the film, like that embrace.
Love you, mate.
It shows,
So nice.
No, it is, mate. Like I say, just I don't even emotional was the word for it. I don't even think there is a word for it, really, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it was the best experience of my life. One of the most hardest, I would say that.
Yeah.
Getting in the fire brigade and doing that was fucking tough. But this was as enjoyable as I much as loved it, but tough, man. Absolutely tough. So to do what I did, my little bit, where I used to get back from the night of filming, I think he would go out for dinner, and bits and bobs, and go gallivanting. I'd go sit in a bath and die, and just like over my ribs, and I'm thinking, how does he do it? How does he do it?
Well, we had people coming in, look. So it's people coming in, so I had to meet people. If like
That's what I mean,
they come in
how?
for 2 days,
Yeah.
you know,
How?
I have to go and see them, of course.
And that's why you'll make it. And I know just no bullshit, but no matter what you decide to do, you will do, because his mindset
100%.
is, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of successful people, a lot of driven people, but not like
Yeah,
you.
and like that, when he phones me when he's doing that, that's a
Not like
beautiful
you.
story, by the way. But when he's doing the films and he phones me, he's like, James, you know, I'm under all this stress, and oh, you know what? I think it's not going to happen. Oh, he goes, oh, you know what? I think you know, this actor's not going to take the part, or oh, I'm not going to get this. I'm like, Matt, I know you're getting everything. Like everything that you set out for, you are 100% getting, and I don't question it, and I know it.
Yeah.
And that's why I respect him so much. Don't have many friends like that, because I know, you know, we've got that work ethic. So
That's
it's
it.
just like, I just got full trust. I'm like, no, I know you're going to get that money in. I know you're going to get that actor in, but it's, you doubt it sometimes, which is great.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but because I know that he won't stop.
That's right.
And he's not stopping in an arsehole way. He's not stopping in a nice, pleasant, Matt way, the
Yeah.
way that he operates. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mate, what's like the, because there's quite a lot of fights you've had and like a very interesting life. Like what's like the, you know, if I was to ask 2 questions, it'd be like, what's the highest point you've had in your life, and what's like the lowest point you've had in your life?
And outside of boxing,
Yeah, altogether, or with or without.
Yeah. So I'd say the highest point, if I'm honest with you, is the film, without a doubt.
Amazing.
Very good.
You know, and to share it with, and I was very lucky because I remember just a quick story about my Mrs. Shelley, I love you, just to say, when she's watching. I remember she's so supportive. I missed so many things when I had to do the filming. I missed her Uncle Kev's funeral, such a lovely man. I missed a couple of weddings, and no matter what I said I was doing and going away, she'd never once say to me, get the ump, or she'd go, good luck, go and do it, you know. So I was so lucky to have her, and I remember coming up on set one day in Stratford, and I remember just thinking, with her there, it just felt great. I thought to myself, I was having a great time anyway, but when she was with me and was doing bits, and I thought, this is so I think that's probably one of the greatest points
That's so
of my
nice.
life, having there with and meeting everyone and being all together, and then going through the night, you know, the happiest time is, and then to it's probably my dad dying, mate.
Yeah.
My dad dying. Do you know what I mean? The lowest of me low, and I was and I went a massive drink, and I was probably drinking like a terrible to say really, but like a bottle of gin sometimes a night.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in a bit of a bad way,
Why
mate.
gin? Because it numbs, doesn't it?
I think I started drinking in the pub with a couple of mates one time, and I thought, well, you know, it's easy to get a bottle of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I used to, and it was a kick in the arse. I think I used to sit out in the garden. I used to feel really sorry for myself because my dad had the loveliest garden. He still has. Well, not as nice as he used to, but it's still nice. We try and keep it nice.
I can imagine you trying to keep the gun.
Do you know what? I don't want to go off tangent, but a quick story. So bless him. So he kept his grass like Wimbledon. His grass was his grass was beautiful. He had the sign saying "Keep off the grass, everything." Only for Sonny and Willow's playtime. So my niece and nephew, a little shout to them as well. I love them. So a little, yeah. And anyway, so he passed away, and then it was like, right, loads of things on your head. I think, man, how am I going to do this? You know, I've got my mum. You got your pressures, you know. Dad was the man and a proper man. I didn't even know how to change a tyre on my car. True story, because my dad would do everything.
Right.
He was such a dad. He would go, I'll do that. And I'll go, lovely, sweet, Dad's done that. Oh, shit, I ain't done that. And you just see him go, I've done it. And you think, oh. So one day anyway, I remember Dad died, and it was probably about 4 or 5 days after my dad died. And I've gone out in the garden, the grass is starting to get a bit long now. because obviously he ain't cut it for a few days. And anyway, so he's got a fly-mo. You know the old fly-mos with the lead?
Yeah.
So I've never cut fucking grass before. I don't know what I'm doing. He used to do lines like that, beautiful lines and everything. So I'm going up trying to do the lines. And what have I done? Fucking drove straight over the lead, and I cut the lead in half.
Oh shit!
And no word of a lie.
Bang!
It just stopped. Within about 5-10 seconds, started raining.
Oh no!
Pissed down, and I just looked up and I went,
no.
I know, I should have left it alone. And it was like my dad was saying to me, "Fucking leave me grass alone." You know what I mean?
Did you get electric shock?
I didn't, mate. I was
Okay,
alright. I was
yeah.
lucky. I was alright. You
Yeah.
know. But yeah, so lowest point is my dad dying. But then my dad, without me knowing it, picked me up because he was such a good man and wanted us to do well. When I was sat in the garden, drinking gin, and I thought to myself, he won't want me doing this. Honestly, I thought to myself, what am I doing? What am I doing? You know, feeling like shit, feeling sorry for yourself, doing nothing with your life at the time because I was like, I didn't box anymore. You know, I just went to work, come back, and just drank. And I did, and I just packed drinking. And the one thing he did say to me is, Rick, you got to give back to the boxing club. He said you've got to do that. So literally a few days later, I went back up to my amateur boxing club and signed on as an amateur coach, and that was it.
And you still do that now, yeah?
Isn't it amazing? Like fitness, pretty much. I mean, because you know when somebody says, "Right, let's get out of this slump, this depression, or whatever," it's so easy for someone to say it when you're feeling good.
Yeah.
But when all of your genetics, when all of your hormones are making you feel like shit, it's hard to come out of it.
Of course it is.
And I would say the one consistent thing I've heard with everyone, like as we heard with the strongest woman in the world, she had a really awful, some really, really bad things happen.
Yeah.
And the way she got out of it was just started going to the gym.
Yep.
The way you got out of yours, start going to the gym. Fitness pretty much fixes everything.
I can't, again, boxing or fitness. I say to my kids or people who are ill, depression, and there is a lot of people out there, movement, I call it movement is medicine, I say.
Movement. We said that yesterday.
Movement is
Yeah,
medicine.
just move. Yeah.
Movement is medicine.
Yeah.
Because not everyone can go into a gym and have the courage to go into a gym because it's
Yeah.
very daunting for someone who's never been to a gym.
Yeah.
I said movement. Get off your ass, you know, even if you feel terrible and shit, go for a walk. Just go down the park, go round the corner.
Yeah.
And then every day put some music on, put your favourite music on or put a podcast on. And I say movement.
Boardman podcast or?
Oh, without a doubt, this one is number one. Partico's number one after I've been on here. But it is, don't it? To the gym. I know when I feel terrible and I don't care how tired I am, I'll go to the gym. And when that feeling when you walk out the gym, when you're sweating and you go, how good you feel.
Yeah. And you can give yourself any excuse. Like sometimes I'm like, actually, I'm too tired. Listen to your body, don't. And I felt a bit shit a couple of nights ago. And because I wasn't moving all day.
Yeah.
And my mate Francois, who we had on, he said, just go to the gym. Every time you feel better, pretty much. It's like medicine.
You do.
Yeah.
Movement
Really
is
do.
medicine. That's such a good way to end.
Yeah.
I love
Movement
that.
is
Movement
medicine.
medicine. Yeah.
Easy. Do you know?
Rick, honestly, you know, you're a very, very dear friend. I love you to bits. We all love you.
Yeah. That went quick. That hour and 10 minutes went
That
quick.
did go
That's
quick.
what my
Very
missus
quick.
normally says.
Not after an hour and 10 minutes.
Definitely not over an hour, 10 minutes.
10 seconds.
That's with a shower before and after and a bit of lunch.
That's a great way to end. Ricky Chaplin, everyone, thank you so much, man. Honestly, been a pleasure. I love you
Cheers,
so much.
boys. Cheers.
Oh, mate, what a
Cheers.
legend.
Love
Cheers,
yous.
Rick.
Thank you.
Like
Cheers,
and
boys.
subscribe. We're out.
Subscribe.
See you soon.
Yes, Rick.
Terrible.